Why do I always do that? I'm just talking away and people are looking at me. Thank you, Jared. Mr. Rosenthal with the save. Good Lord. And I thought I was going to save myself by putting the mic button in front of my face, but look at that. So now I have to repeat what I was saying. I was just on a riff, man. I was just riffing. I said, welcome to the Constant Companion Theory. I'm your host, Mr. Ed, a actual former archaeologist, paleontological tech, museum educator. Jared with the save. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Gave me a chance to polish my glasses. Oh, we got somebody coming in here. Look at that. Ooh, filiocide. Yeah, fratricide, right? What's going on there? I think that's an important topic. And part of the thing we're going to discuss today is how the archaeology is predicting the biology. Now, again, I like everyone else, you know. Why do I always got to mess up the mic or the camera? So far, we're doing pretty good tech-wise. So the archaeology is predicting the morphology of the beings. And let's just go back a little bit. So as I said, I am a former archaeologist. And for some reason, I remember asking questions about a very particular artifact, really artifact complex, I should say. And that is what I call the cordiform shaped faces, heart shaped faces. It is the center, or at least the beginning of our constant companion theory. We suggest that the heart shaped faces inspired our heart symbol that we use every day. We're probably using on this platform here. I had someone say to me once, he said, you know, I wrote a book on hearts and I never found this information. Well, you know, information changes, right? And that's the whole thing about the Tridactyls. We have the bodies, we have flesh and blood. So I actually recognize the body. So, and I don't know if there's a lot of people that can say that. A 1 in 8 billion chance. I'm glad you're here. And I'm hoping that my credibility as a local educator here in South Florida will help lend credence to this, that this is no hoax. These are not fake. And it's weird. I have people on like Reddit who are just, they see like a list of things we've discovered and they still decry fake. And I can't help but think that there's an agenda or they're just really super ignorant, huh? But aren't these some beautiful slides? Let's see what other heart-shaped faces and tridactyl limb beings are out there. Also, the limbs could be sort of what I call anomalous. Like this guy here, his limbs are anomalous. And so I don't know if the limbs and the eyes are kind of being conflated together as symbolism is, multivariate symbolism. So even in our language or even shapes and whatnot, they can have multiple meanings. So for this one here, is the arms and the eyes being conflated into one symbol, which eventually ends up in our ionic columns? So they probably have hydrostatic limbs, which is why we're seeing these strange depictions. Now, these are in the UK. So just a good current example, current reminder that this is a universal complex. The last two I showed you were Canada and the Caribbean. I mean, I get them even mixed up sometimes. Caribbean, I think these are all Canada. Okay, so these are all Canada. And then these are Caribbean. And then we have, let's go into England. I was looking, there's a Russian one too. Of course, they're everywhere, right? So we're here just to say that we recognize them from the record, and it was these beings that set me off on a path. This is a life from the mouth motif. I don't know what else to call it. And you can see this little guy has a heart-shaped head there also. So what else are we going to be doing today? We're going to try to do a live hunt for larvae. My mouse is getting a little crazy. I have to sort of reset it. We're going to be doing a live hunt for larvae. We are going to look at more artifacts on why the artifacts were able to guide me on my journey. And as a, again, former archaeologist, so ideally I should be able to trace a cultural complex around the world, shouldn't I? And that's kind of what happened. I went from Peru, theoretically, to Canada, Caribbean, to New Zealand, the Maori. In fact, since we just posted that recently, let me go ahead and show you real quick a nice screenshot of a whole bunch of Maori figures together, the tiki beings. Yeah, we can do that, and that'll be fun. So let me share another screen with you here real quick. How's everybody doing? Thanks for coming tonight, Sky. We will be giving away a head. Sky reminds me I owe him a Tridactyl head, so hang around for that. We'll get you into the one in 100 chance of winning, although the chances are actually, they've gone up significantly since we've eliminated numbers and we've eliminated winners, right? So people have already won. Okay, let's see. Let's see here. Let's show some comments here. People said they don't like when I show the, there's a critic about everything, Some people don't like the hat you wear. I don't understand. All right, let's look at a new screen here. Let's give you bam. Now, how is that going to come up? Okay, cool, great. How fun is that? So again, from the Caribbean to New Zealand to the Maori, and here we see again cordiform shaped head beings. Now, I always notice these fangs, and I kind of chose to ignore them. I thought maybe the fangs were just, sort of iconic or something, but they're not, are they? Let's move this guy over here. So we're talking about archaeology predicting the future. And let's get into, got to talk about the pig dragons once again, don't we? Because if it weren't for the Hongshan pig dragons, I don't know if I'd be where I am today, because it's the Hongshan pig dragons that I felt were very, very realistic looking. So take a look at this with me real quick, and we'll take a look at the full screen of some Hongshan pig dragons. There you go, right there. And so jade, copper patina, and even when you see it, defiance over in Egypt, all of these colors are alluding to the beings as well. So the ancients knew their color. We're used to seeing them white and gray, but I have a sneaky suspicion. So check out these things. So I wasn't really sure what they were at first, but now after doing some larva hunting, smash the line button. It owes you money. I don't know. Is that for your? It owes me a head. Yeah. Okay. So we're just going through doing this video real quick of some Hongshan pig dragons. I have my own here. They might just be replicas. I do like to show these. So let's go ahead and maybe I can. Okay, so it was like a little guy like this. And here's a couple others. Ooh, this one has some green in it, I guess. So he's starting to come out a little weird. It's got some nice weight to him. So we have these pig dragons. It was the pig dragons that I suggest that propelled me when we went to Artemis's scans. And in Artemis's scans, where we saw some serious egg action happening and serious embryos hatching. I do like to call them larvae because they are amphibian. And what other artifacts predicted their amphibian nature? Right here, I suggest. Yeah. Now, I think this is, God, I don't remember, to be quite honest. I don't know if this is South American or Mesoamerican. But regardless, we have tridactyls. We have a sort of cordiform shaped face, and we have a serpentine being. So it was pieces like this. And look at this Paracus here. Now, is that a tail he has there? Is that did they depict the cloaca even? Or are those clothing? But the head and face, I mean, my God, look at that. I think that's great. I think we need to maybe replicate some of that, huh? And some more of the Paracus fabrics. It appears to show maybe being swimming underwater. Again, with serpentine shapes coming out of their mouth. The clues were there. This isn't like, it's not that magical. So I think it might be time to start hunting for perhaps some larvae. Let's go ahead before we do that. Let's check our questions. Those are the numbers for tonight. We'll have to get some people up there for some numbers to see who's going to win our Tridactyl head, our Josephine replica head today. That'll be super fun. We're talking about the archaeology predicting the biology. And I knew that there were amphibians that went through a metamorphosis process before the truth came out. How? How did I know that? Well, even something as simple as our dear friend Ganesh. You guys know Ganesh, right? Well, Ganesh is an elephant-headed god. But as some people have pointed out, it's not really about a god with an elephant head. It's about a god whose head is somewhat shaped like an elephant. So let's go to this here meme. Okay, there we have in the middle there a beautiful jade Hongshan pig dragon, right? Hopefully, guys, are we seeing that? I have to check my screen. Yes, we are. Awesome. And we got some more comments. The eggs are astonishing. We're going to look at some live scans of the eggs tonight. Over here, we have a little magatama. This is a Japanese magatama found in association with the dogu of Japan. And so it's a dogu cultural item. So that's cool. So magatama and the dogu are going together. So the dogu, those clay ceramic figures that I think look hyper realistic. Someone just posted one of those recently. And then this is actually the head of Ganesh. It's the head of Ganesh, but to me, I suggest it is a bit of secret steganography, perspective anamorphosis. Since I knew we were looking for an amphibian being like an axolotl that has front limb development, that's what this symbol says to me. So Ganesh is also known as the child, and the child in the Tamil language. And if we look at some of our symbolism, and if we look at the symbol of the child, which seems to me to be an international symbol. Let's pull up one child symbol. So this is from a Semitic language. Here's one from China. Okay, there's a nice one. We'll leave it right there. Here's one. Oh, actually, here's another one. Here's one from the Americas. Okay, so that's 3 different cultures right there. So the child. Oh, wait a minute. You haven't seen these. Let's redo that. Okay, so here's a child from the Americas. Here's a child letter called G from China. And then the Semitic letter. It's kind of really a little highly digitalized. So I knew we were going to be looking for these sort of beings, these sort of amphibians. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can actually today do some hunting, find something live, which, there has been times when we've been looking live and it has resulted in something interesting. Okay. Looks like my window's a little off. Can move it over a bit, perhaps. All right, cool. So here we have a couple images of the eggs. And we have a couple of the skull images. And I think that, of course, one of the skull images actually has an egg with it. So let's go ahead and start with one of these egg images, shall we? And let's go ahead and just do a check back on our people. Let's see. Sky just says the word Buddhism. I'm not sure what that means, but it's funny because one of the theories of the Hei-Tiki that I found out there, one of the theories was that this professor suggested that it was a Buddhist trait, that it was a jade Buddha, and actually I think ultimately he was correct. The whole Pacific Rim is really just one giant part of human culture. Okay, so let me get comfortable here for some egg hunting. So those of you can either go to the alien-project.com, interact with their scans, or you can look into tridactyls.org. So even right off the top of the back, even though it's faint here, there almost seems to be something there in just the lines itself. And I'm not a super duper scan operator guy that's really good at this, but every now and then we do come up with something. So here we have what appears to be what looks like in these type of scans, the black eyes of fetal beings. And what I understand is that the gray could be beings that were already, maybe they were dried of blood and died before the fixturing, the whatever, the mummification, we'll call it. Whatever, the drying process. Now, even down here, is that, well, this one's clearly a head. I mean, but he's kind of grayed out. So does that mean he's dead already? He was dead before the event? And then is this another head down here, a larger one? Of course, you're going to want to do this yourself, I'm sure, because it'll probably get people like almost like car sick. Like, I can't watch this. So you'll definitely want to do it yourself. And you might have a better eye for this. Maybe you have worked with X-rays or shrimp. Because they look like shrimp, right? And I think there might be an Asian word for meaning shrimp. The other thing we have to be aware of course, is the black holes could at times be pneumatic air spaces in the skull. So this is the one where I suggest is the piece of vampirism happening. So I was surprised that they had fangs myself, but it made sense. The fangs actually, when I found the fangs on Louisa, it made me realize, okay, so there is some sort of predation going on, which makes sense if you're growing up in a environment that's highly competitive. So this is the picture I screenshotted. It appears to show one tridactyl head, and you might even, the fangs are actually coming up on the scan right here. Looks like into possibly a head of another. Now, why is that part very luminescent? I don't know. It's like a large tadpole-like head here. So let's maybe get out of this egg and let's see, any other things coming out of here? All right, let's get out of here. Let's look at this other, this side view here. Okay. Oh no, it's the same one. There we go. Okay, so this one we have a negative, but what do we see in this section here? You know, are the two legs kind of getting together and creating a scorpion-like tail? Because their tail does seem to have a curve to it when they're extended, almost like a curly tail lizard. And then down below here, and you know, the other thing I didn't understand was like, why are we seeing like different sizes? But I guess it's just part of their nature. They grow in asynchronous environments at different rates. I guess it's good to ensure survival of the species. This species seems to be just made to be able to just breed and make lots and lots of little ones and be able to evolve. And so I think this is like, this is probably not a good setting. I don't know how it even got to there. Okay, it's just too bright. Okay. All right, well. So again, we've got serpentine beings here, very kind of shrimp-like. And again, the archaeological record already warned us of this, right? The Hongshan pig dragons are almost just hyper realistic. So let's look into the head now. Let's use this one first because it's probably not as. So I know we're going to be repeating stuff, so I know it might get a little boring for some people, but it's up to you guys. I realized something recently, which is what's going to make the show is going to be when I have the guests on. I think I'm getting all your messages. They don't all show up. Let's see. Lot to consider here. Okay, so we're currently looking at the skull. And again, the people who suggest that these are fake, of course, which is just ridiculous. But there's a complex ear bone here. Now, these complex ear bones, it's very possible that the small larval forms are also using these as, it's like an environment. It's a full environment for them. So they may be using this as a sort of almost like a coral reef, if you will. So the skull ends up being like a coral reef. So again, we have got some of the black eyes that seem to be very good chance of being larval. And there's the fang as an adult, right? That doesn't usually show up on the scans, which makes sense for this recess right here. So that recess that's the holster for that fang. So, like I said, they're using the skull like an environment, and it almost seems like this pneumatic area. They may have perhaps burrowed into the pneumatic area of the skull. And we may have to look at the other scan to get a better look at that. Well, there might be a face there in the center. Sometimes their faces are very human-like. So pareidolia could happen. Like, is this what's happening up here? Right? Or is that just part of the skull, the natural form of the skull? And again, those ear bones can be very pareidolia inspiring. So this is the pneumatic area of the skull where I think might be easy for beings to perhaps burrow into. Let's go ahead and look at this other one up here. All right. You can really see the bone structure light up on this one. Okay, so we should be able to see a tail coming off of one over here, I think. Let's see. There it is. Okay, so this appears to be a larval form perched upside down with its tail in the air, its scorpion-like tail. And note when you, and it's on this setting like this, you can see that it's really it's a 3D being, and you really get a good appreciation, I think, for the tail here. I don't know how many people, be honest, how many people expected baby aliens, baby ET in there? So here's a good question we're going to show here from Sarah. Competing parasitic or possible co-beneficial species. Well, if they're eating each other, that's definitely that's a competitive amphibian trait. But with the mother, I mean, did this happen afterwards and this is just a natural state? Or is it a complication due to hybridization? And they're not supposed to be there. And that's why Artemis has so many operations. That's why Alberto's ear transplant happened. And perhaps that's even why Victoria's head was cut off, was that the embryo was stuck in the neck area. So we can see a better version of this occipital bump here, which is normally just what? Just pneumatic. But I'm wondering now too, were all these pneumatic because they were burrowed into? Reflective going around there. I don't know if that's a piece of bone or a pineal gland. So people ask, well, how is this happening? And so what it's been suggested is that the skull and the torso are directly connected, that the foramen magnum in their skull leads right to this neck area, which leads right to the torso. And not only that, but if they're actually burrowing and eating, well, they could probably find their way on their own. For example, is this one here in this sinus area. I do look forward to more people looking, but now hopefully more researchers will know you have to search the head. And again, I don't know if have we found anything tonight that makes you say, oh yeah, you sold me, Ed? Probably not. I don't know if we've actually, it does take some time to eke this stuff out. Well, we saw this guy. He's pretty good. He's pretty good over here, right? What do you think? Do you like this guy? That's whoa. I just noticed my screen got crazy. What happened? My comments section just got nuts. Everything's, I probably just shrunk my screen. Okay, so let's see what's going on with the comments. Any questions, concerns? Let's see. Oh, we got archaeologists here. I got my archaeology from Broward College. No shit. Look at that. Yeah, I got my 2-year degree. I got my 2-year degree there at Broward College. In fact, my first, that's so awesome to hear. My first anthropology class was at Broward North. It was probably my first A+ too. So that was cool. Let's see. You're so lucky to have the subject almost to yourself. Oh, you mean like covered? There are lots of obviously people out there. Variety of morphologies. It's an agenda for sure. Damn. Just it was me head and just showing some of the old comments here. I see them. That's crazy. Let's see. Yeah, I see monkeys, shrimp, cryptobases. Any of the mummies? Yeah, I mean, they seem to be perfect. There's probably parthenogenesis. There's probably hermaphroditism. There's probably telescopic generations. Have we looked at those pictures recently? Why do I say that, Ed? Because to me, it looks like they were born with eggs. Eggs within eggs, which, I mean, I guess people say, but we're all kind of born with eggs. But I don't know. These look like they could be on their way to doing something. So it's an eight, and it's not completely unusual. Aphids apparently will do this, telescoping generations. That means that they're born pregnant. Now, if you're a creature that's born pregnant, it just, again, is this planet Earth's, why do we have to have UFOs? Why do we have to have aliens? Is this planet Earth's method of populating a planet? And I can't get a darn picture up to save my life. By the way, if anyone ever wants to come on and talk, feel free to drop me a line. We can work something out. Let me know who you are if I don't know you at first. That would be good. I'd like to have the Broward guy on there. How about that? You can come on the show. Okay, here we go. Here's a nice close-up. But if I can just get it on the right screen. There we go. Let's get rid of my face. Finally. But you can't see it. Okay. Those appear to be eggs within an embryo. And that's not the only image. There are others. But that might be the best one still. So, yeah. Are these things actually born pregnant? That would be freaking wild, wouldn't it? All right. What else do we have to cover today? Well, we definitely have to give away a head still. That's important. Josephina model head. So I should probably make sure we have everybody's number here. Let's see. No, my professor, I don't even remember what my professor's name was. Keating, I think it was. Keating. Okay, so let's get some numbers rolling for today. Let's pull up our magic number sheet, wherever that is. You know, I end up having just too many screens open. You guys know. You know my woes. Boom, here it is. All right. I don't know why I get excited for the Josephina drawing for some reason. Okay, cool. So let's get some new people's numbers in here. All right, guys, we're going to do it this way. So if you're watching, you see the open numbers, call out a number, and I will give it to you. Those of you that are watching right now. So I'm talking about Sarah and Jared. I feel like it's Romper Room. I see Sarah. I see Jared. The Tridactyls see you, Lauren. The Tridactyls are watching you, Skywatch. The Tridactyls are coming to your house, Jared. Jared says 76. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Boom. Jared, you are in. Who else is calling out a number for tonight's Tridactyl head giveaway? Josephina. I still have some mix left. I want to make sure people get it. Sarah B Cat is gotten lucky 77. That's a good number, huh? All right, Sky, of course, you are out. Sky is disqualified for winning. Lauren, you in? Okay, I'm going to pull up my other screen here. We got to go to our Roll20. And again, I am still open for questions also. If you guys have any questions specifically about the Tridactyls or the cultural theories. Yeah, we've got some very interesting stuff that no one else is talking about. Embryophagy, also called adelphophagy. We have amphibian tadpole-like fangs not too different from vampire frogs. So it turns out all a tadpole has to do is just puncture the skin of its enemy, and they're like little balloons, and they will deflate and die. Brutal world, huh? All right. Here we go for today's drawing. Josephina Head rolling a D100. You can never see it because the dice always goes up there. And you still can't see it because, well, let's see. That was a 50 something. Let's look into the score. It says right there in the chat. That's a 51. 51. Do we have a wiener? We go to the 51, and it's Gears. Wow, Gears is a trusted fan. You know what, Gears? I haven't seen you in a couple weeks. Gears, you deserve it. What will be the closest analog in the biological tree of life for where these beings might fit? So they seem to be primitive vertebrates, with some even possibly invertebrate morphology also, which is really weird. That's just kind of nuts, right? But you know, a living thing is the lamprey, because the lamprey has the dual photoreceptors, the parietal eye and the pineal gland. So a lamprey could be very similar, and also perhaps a three-fingered salamander or a lungless salamander. So they're breathing cutaneously. So somewhere in there, somewhere in between, like I think a lamprey and a salamander is a good thing. But you know, they seem to be a Genesis taxon. So the reason they have a bird like furcula and a crocodilian stomach rib is that they're so back in time that they're able to be the progenitors of these things, these traits. You know, it's the furcula is probably coming from them. So there's that. All right, that was a good question from Jared Rosenthal. Jared went to Broward College. I'll tell you, Broward, you know what, Broward, one of the things Broward taught me is you don't have to make school complicated. It can be really straightforward and to the point. We're going to talk about this. You're going to take a test on that. And it's just a lot of the teachers at Broward College were really good. Land amphibians, so fascinating. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, of course, all amphibians can be, right? They go to land and water. You know, those things. So here's the thing. I know we all want to make sure that all the tridactyls, I suggest all the tridactyls need to be gathered and brought to Peru. And they need to be on display as a whole, and they need to be together like a collection, kind of like, you know, repatriating. That has to be done for sure. But I think the world has to be involved with this, because this is a world treasure. This is a World Heritage Site. It's a sort of mobile World Heritage Site. And so the world needs to come together just like they do and protect this with as much resources as possible. And Jared said he loved his time at Broward College, so that's good. And then I went to FAU, which, you know, FAU wasn't that different. It was obviously a little more difficult, a little more in depth on the topics and whatnot, and the instruction was a lot different. It was definitely higher level. It was noticeable, but I felt like they still kept it. There was no tricking the students, and I sort of try to do that myself, even with this stuff. I don't want to trick anybody. There are things I'm not sure about, like, did you guys see where in that same heads today, just like we were looking, did you see did we find a fetus in the head, a larval form, a humanoid form? Ugh. There we go. I'm going to share that. So, what do you guys think? Do we have something there? Were those tridactyls just so asynchronous in that their development that we had tiny larvas running around with near humanoids? Is this a being that's perhaps gripping its own leg, maybe like a child would do? And of course, while we're at it, there's another great shot. So on the right, we have the one I found in Artemis, which, you know, now I look at it, I realize, oh, that thing's probably feeding too, right? I don't know if I got that at first. I just thought it was like in some sort of fetal. And then I found this one, which might be, I don't know, does it have an arm? I can't tell. Ultimately, I want to find a good picture of a serpentine being with arms. So haven't quite got to that yet. We've found some things that were close for sure. Wow. So yeah, what else can we say, you know? Gears is going to be getting one of these. He's going to be super excited. You'll be able to rub your own kappa in the privacy of your own home. Heart-shaped face, cordiform, right? And I always like to bring up well, why is it called the heart then? Why does the human heart and the symbol, why they don't look anything alike? Yeah, but you know what? Bum, 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 bum. This kind of looks like a heart, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Doesn't that look? So is that why this became the heart? And there's the mythical creature, the heart, H-A-R-T, some sort of white horned being running through the forests. And again, just to reiterate, I was just showing this slide just in my presentation, live presentation recently. And I said in the presentation, I'm going to probably find larvae in the head. Why? Because there seems to be a motif of life coming from the mouth of a being. So they had that weird mouth brooding, gastro brooding, even though doesn't seem like they have a stomach. That happens in amphibians, right? All right. Well, I think that's good. I don't know. Did anybody watch Strange New Worlds this week? The crew got disguised as Vulcans. It was pretty funny. Some people are complaining there's too much humor in it. I think it's probably okay. They only have a couple episodes, though, to really pump up the adventure. So thanks for coming. Hopefully we'll have some new discoveries next week. I want to look more into the Chinese myths of Gun and Yu, because Yu was born from Gun's dead body. And their symbols in ancient Chinese writing refer to insects and words that sound like naga. This has been the Constant Companion Theory at Tridactyls. My name is Mr. Ed. I am your trusty xenoanthropologist, trying to bring you the truth and educate us all, including myself, on the biology and the cultural connections. Live long and prosper.